welcome back to Physiology Friday. You've come back for more. I have again the lovely model Nick, who is living with us in lockdown. She's not come for a treatment in secret or anything like that. So, first of all, I am going to do my usual, which is a recap of last week, which was by popular demand. People wanted me to discuss lips. So there's various different dynamics of lips and how you inject and technique, and depending on the look you want with regards to sort of ethnicity. So obviously if you want to have a listen to that, that's in video number 3, which was last week. So we have my lovely cushion, which everyone loves to play with while their numbing cream's working. So this is your vermilion border. This is the edge of your lips, which is where your skin cells change from being 15 layers of cells to about 3 cells, which is why you get the different colour of lips to skin. So from your vermilion border, everybody always wants a nice Cupid's bow. So the Cupid's bow is here. With regards to Cupid, it's about love, it's sensual, it's an erogenous zone, the whole of the area of the lips. That's why people want to have filler and they want to look good. So we always want a nice defined Cupid's bow. Off the Cupid's bow we have a danger zone, which are the philtrum columns. So I'll need that again, Nick, which is why I'll discuss in a bit why we have the danger zones underneath the philtrum columns. Then the other area of the lips are what we call your pillows, stroke tubercles. So the top of your lips has a centre tubercle and 2 outer ones. So you've got 1, 2 and 3. And the bottom lips have 2 tubercles, which are here and here. And then also on lips, we always are mindful of the oral commissures, which are the 2 side points of the lips. Often when people age and they come to me for a treatment, they'll have 1 ml of filler, which normally is 0.5 ml in the vermilion border, and then 1/4 ml each side to act as a scaffolding to bring up the oral commissure. So that's your recap on last week. So what I've had to do, because when I was actually prepping for today and was sort of timing myself, I don't want to bore you, and the lips are really, really complex. So what I've decided to do is discuss the arteries today, and then next week in Physiology Friday, I'll discuss the muscles as well. Okay? So if I can just turn your head that way, Nick. So the reason that we have to be really, really careful when injecting lips is because it's such a vascular area. So here you have your common carotid artery, okay, which comes off the aorta of the heart. So it's quite a strong, powerful pump, big hose pipe, nice, big, juicy vessel. Now, this vessel branches into the facial artery here. The internal carotid goes sort of back underneath and supplies the brain, and the external carotid continues up the face. So I'm only going to obviously discuss the lower area of vascular because of time, and obviously we're discussing lips. So this facial artery here feeds the inferior labial vessels, which is the lower lip, the superior labial vessels, which is the upper lip. It also feeds the muscle of the marionettes, the chin. It's really vascular. You have to think of your face now a bit like a road map, and we call it like watershed of vessels, lots and lots of wiggly worms, they all intertwine. So basically when you're doing a filler on somebody, we know the basic anatomy and physiology of how and where to inject, but there's such a lot of variation between everybody's face. So just to try and explain. So that's your facial artery, feeds upper and lower lips, obviously the muscles behind. Then the external carotid comes slightly higher, just obviously again variable, about the bottom of the earlobe, into what we call the transverse facial artery. That feeds the orbicularis oris, which is all around the mouth. Again, all the little wiggly worms going into your superior labial, into your philtrum columns. Then you've also got, can I just pop you straight just while I draw? Okay. Sorry about that, just while I was having a little draw, it's easier for me to be quiet. So, your philtral columns here have what we call a lot of columellar arteries and vessels, which are really tiny and wiggly wormy, and they feed this area here, the ala of your nose. So every time we inject, you have to make sure that you aspirate the needle, and when I do that, anyone who comes to me, if I'm doing a Cupid's bow or any time I put a sharp needle in, I'll always pop the needle in, draw back, we call it aspirate in medical terms, pull the needle back, and what we're looking for is any blood into that syringe, because what we don't want to do is cause a blockage. So I'm going to just refer to a couple of questions that I've had. There's Hayley, Victoria, Gemma, and actually a couple of others who, I can't remember the names now, so I do apologise in advance, that have all asked me in variable terms the same question. So when you see on websites pictures of people's nose going black from a lip filler, why does that happen? And in medical terms we call it an occlusion. But what I want you to think of, as you know, I use different analogies to try and explain in layman terms what I'm talking about. So yesterday when I was filling up the children's paddling pool again, I saw the hose pipe, and actually I just thought that's perfect for tomorrow. So basically, if you think of a hose pipe and you've got your water running through, you've got a nice pressure, it's nice and equal. Obviously the bigger the hose pipe, the more water goes through under lower pressure. The smaller the pipe, if you've got the tap on at the same frequency, you've got a higher pressure, okay? So if you think of a hose pipe and someone stands on that hose pipe and blocks the pressure of that water going out to the paddling pool, you've got no water going out. So if you think now of that hose pipe as a vessel, you've got no blood going out to that area. Now, as I've said, that one vessel is really complex and it has lots and lots of little wiggly worms, road maps from that vessel, and blood carries oxygen. That's one of the main components that blood does, is it carries oxygen around the body. So when you see an area of the face going black from an occlusion of filler and you see all these horror stories, that's because you've had a blockage of your hose pipe, vessel, whatever you want to call it, in your face that has stopped oxygen going through to that area. So actually now's probably a good time because I've gone slightly off tangent, so I'm just going to come up to the camera here and show you what some filler looks like. So this is the filler that I often will inject into lips. So as you can see, it's quite thick, it's quite high density. So if you think of that going into an area of the body that it shouldn't, it can actually cause damage. And that's why aspiration is so important, because what you don't want is for that to stop your oxygen getting to other areas. and that's why you hear of like horror stories with regards to filler where it has actually caused blindness, and that's where it's gone up to the where it's gone up the artery here to the orbicularis area, and then you've got pressures between the two, and it can cause a lot of major problems with regards to eyesight. So just quickly as well, I've just drawn on this this artery here, which is the maxillary artery. That's the largest terminal branch of this artery here. So basically that feeds your muscle around your mouth, it feeds the mandible for chewing, it feeds the salivary gland, it feeds, got lots and lots of little wiggly worms to the lips. So basically, again, you can inject here and cause problems elsewhere. So often when you see someone that's bruised from lip filler, it tends to be on the right side because that's the side that comes up off the aorta, so you've got more pressure. Coming down the facial artery again, and you've got your maxillary artery and lots of little vessels, and the compression of having the filler in the lips can often cause a huge bruise here. Now sometimes that's due to having too much filler in one go. We tend to only recommend 1 ml of filler at a time. Bad bruise, it's not always bad practice, it can often just be bad luck. So, you know, it can just be bad luck, but what we have to do, if you see a big bruise forming at the time of injecting, is what we call capillary refill, where we check to see how quick the blood comes back to that area. Because if you've got an area then that's not getting that blood flow, that oxygen, you get a different speed of refill. So if you go and get injected and your practitioner starts doing capillary refill time, then that means you've probably had a bit of a bruise. I actually like to do it at the start so that I can see what capillary refill time I have before I start, because again, it's complex, people are variable, some people's refill time is naturally quicker than others. So if you do the capillary refill at the start and time it, then you know what you're up against in case you come across a complication. And I'll just quickly add, although I'm not going to sort of go into detail today, is that it's also really important that you have a practitioner that understands and has in their clinic hyalase, so that if you do get an occlusion, they know how to inject hyalase and how to deal with that. And also have other practitioners in the area, if they feel that it's out of their scope of practice, that they know they can call upon. So just to say that's really, really important. So just to recap then, so we've got the carotid artery, the facial artery, the transverse facial artery, the maxillary artery, you've got your inferior labial artery, your superior labial artery, your columella arteries, which lead then into your lateral nasal and your nasal septum. So I hope you've enjoyed Physiology Friday. I'm sorry if it seemed a bit rushed, but like I said, there's just such a lot to get in with regards to this. Obviously, as always, if you want to get in touch over WhatsApp, Facebook, drop me a message. We can do an online consultation and get you booked in for when lockdown's finished. So thanks for watching. Bye!